7 Spanish angels took another angel home.
Hey, I'm Willie Nelson, and you're watching Hemp Rock TV on your local public access station.
Just what I use, work all day, and when I'm through, smoke some marijuana from my yard, smoke it, Keith. Turned out that it's a lovely day to meet. One of the most common questions that I get, other than can you smoke my jeans, which is no, is when do you think that cannabis will be legalized? And there's a couple different answers because one, cannabis for personal use is one subject. This is something that's getting addressed right now in the federal government with H.R. 5843, and you want to investigate this. It's being brought together in the House by Barney Frank and our favorite Republican, if you can have one, Ron Paul. So we can only hope. Now what this is going to do, folks, is this is going to put it back into the states. It's actually going to make cannabis up to a certain amount legal, and then make the state's decision as to how they want to regulate it. Medical purposes, it's not going to affect that only because the Schedule 1 will not be changed, which is something that we still need to get on the federal government about as far as medicine. There's plenty, 20% of our country is already hip to the fact that this is a medicine, and then they let the citizens of their state get prescriptions for it and use it for their medical purposes. Anybody that thinks that somebody shouldn't use something for medical purposes needs to get their head checked out and probably maybe smoke a couple themselves. The other bill, there is a hemp bill that will again take the pressure off the states. Right now there are a couple states where you can grow industrial hemp. Alex Whiteplume has taken a couple crops actually to market and sold industrial hemp to the market, which under the laws is in fact illegal. You cannot possess the leaves or the flowers of any part of the cannabis plant. When it's grown for industrial purposes, there's no THC. You can take a whole field and smoke it. It won't get you high. You can make, I don't know, 50,000 or so products. Brought a couple with me that I can show you. The newest one that's hitting the market, it's been used by BMW and Mercedes for years, is actually a hemp plastic. That's right, this is made out of part of the hemp plant. You can make anything that you can make synthetically or you can make out of wood, you can make from hemp. No herbicides, no pesticides. It's an unbelievable plant. It needs to be legalized in this country. There is a federal bill that will open that up. You need to talk to your representatives. Tell them what you want. We're in for a big change this year, folks, and this is the time to get out there and tell your politicians what you want. They will listen because change is on the horizon. I said that I was going to be brief, and honestly, that's about all I have to say. Get the facts on the subject. There's irrefutable evidence that, A, industrial hemp should be grown by our farmers. They can get rid of it in Kentucky and start growing hemp instead of tobacco. They don't want to grow tobacco anymore. Any more than anybody should be smoking it. So the fact of the matter is we need to open up. Let's go ahead and get the legislation changed. Keep having a voice. Thank all of you for coming out. All of you that aren't here, take a listen. You might learn something you didn't know before. This is our planet, and we have to protect it. Thank you.
Eric Beach, ladies and gentlemen, of Hemptations in O'Brienville. Make sure to go on out there and check him out for all the hemp products you could possibly want. If he doesn't have it, he'll probably order it for you. All right, we're going to bring another little guy here. He said he was once a hippie, and now everybody wants to pay him for his services. He is an environmental consultant, helping people to run themselves and their businesses, I guess, a little more efficiently. But anyways, give him a hand. Here's Danny Plyler.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today? It's a beautiful day out today. I'm just up here. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because we're running behind on the schedule. But basically, I used to joke around with all my friends. And most of y'all know that I see y'all out in the audience. Might know I fight professionally for a living. I quit my corporate job about 6 years ago. And I live on a 60-acre organic farm. Basically, I do consulting work now to teach people how to become totally energy sufficient in their home. Even if you live in the suburbs of Cincinnati, there's plenty of things you can do to help save on your energy costs and everything. For example, today I drove in my 1989 Volkswagen Jetta diesel car. I drove here on the biodiesel made of hemp oil that I just made 2 days ago. So I get 47 miles to the gallon. It costs me $1.35 a gallon to make. Now everywhere I go and eat, everybody asks me, "You want my grease?" I take the grease home with me and I make it into biodiesel. If any of you guys live by any type of flowing stream, I could set you up with a micro hydro processing plant, which is hydroelectric, and for $1,500 it'll run 4 houses. So if you figure if your heating bill was $250 last month a month, 2 months, you and 3 or 4 of your friends could go in on a micro hydroelectric plant, and it's fine. There's so many things, like right now, we could be using this energy that's coming down from the sky. But what our problem is we've not learned how to become energy and personally self-sufficient. The first thing that happened after 9/11 was our president told us to go out and shop to show that our economy is strong. But after World War II, after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, the first thing America was told is how to become totally energy and self-sufficient. They taught you how to grow victory gardens. They taught you how to make biodiesel. There's a program called Hemp for Victory. And that's what I want to tell everybody. If you start thinking hemp again, just like we thought in World War II, they weren't stupid people. God bless you, Hemp for Victory.
Danny Plyler, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I don't even know what I was going to say.
Go ahead, Stonehead.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Short-term memory loss. Anyway, no, I'd just like to remind everybody, be sure this whole event has been brought to you by Hemp Rock Productions. Also, does a lot of great things on this cause. Be sure to check them out online at hemprock.com.
Also, after this is all over, there's going to be a big march going on over to, where are they going to?
Federal Building.
Going over to the Federal Building. And so, if you can, join the Reefer Roach and the Drum Corps. They'll be banging their drums and shouting out the good word of weed.
Also, stick around. We got Easy. He's going to be up here on the stage in just a little while, laying out some jams for you. And we've got some great speakers still to come, just like the one we have coming right now.
And that speaker is the one, the only Gatewood Galbraith.
Is this a funeral or is it a rally? It's a rally. Get the rally in. Get the rally. I want to commend every one of you for being here. It shows you're smarter than the average population. It shows you're more aware of the average population. It shows that you've got more balls than the rest of the population for showing up at a rally like this. And for you ladies, we call it moxie. You got more moxie than the rest of the ladies out there. Listen, we're here because we all recognize the need for a change in these fascist marijuana laws that put people in jail because they're associated with a green natural plant. Isn't that right? You know that cannabis is the #1 medicine on earth, that it solves more medical problems than all the other medicines on earth. And it has one overwhelming asset: it will not kill you like the prescription medicines will. Marijuana saved my life. It cured my asthma when I was 21. I was asthmatic all my life. Got discharged from the Marines all my life. And at 21, a friend of mine turned me on to asthma, and I haven't had an asthma attack since. So I'm a champion for medical marijuana, and I've been at it for 40 years now, and I'm not going to stop trying to bring a change in these laws that allows sick and dying people access to God's most natural and wonderful medicine, and we need your help to get the laws changed. Individuals cannot do it. It takes a collective to do it. And your individual effort not only will actually make a difference, but it empowers other people around you to be a part of it too. Not only is there 12 states that now allow marijuana as a medicine. California allows it, and 11 other states do too. There is no reason why each state, one at a time, can't be convinced to allow marijuana by prescription to the people through a doctor's prescription. But your leaders, the people who are leading that fight in Ohio, need your help, and that's one of the reasons this rally is taking place right now. To try to get people to sign up, to try to get people to organize, to try to bring about a political solution. One other thing, not only is cannabis, marijuana, the #1 medicine, but cannabis hemp is petroleum. That's why they want to put everybody in jail, because everything that you grow out of petroleum, you can make out of cannabis hemp. All petroleum is liquefied vegetative matter that was grown eons ago and trapped and stored the sun's energy through its photosynthetic process. And then it was set aside by nature and turned into oil or coal. And what you're running around in your car on today is the sun's energy that was trapped and stored by that growing plant. And hemp is its present day manifestation. Everything you make out of petroleum, you make out of hemp. So they're willing to put millions of us in jail and brutalize us and confiscate everything we got so that the farmers can't compete with the petroleum industries for the energy needs of this country. We calculate that you could plant 7% of the U.S. agricultural land in hemp, you wouldn't have to import another drop of oil into this country. No more wars. Our farmers have an income. The DEA is responsible for the high cost of gasoline in America today because they will bust the farmer who tries to grow hemp as a fuel. But we cannot allow that, and we cannot allow the decimation of our individual rights in the name of the war on drugs. The people now who are calling the policy shots in this country are the people I call the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, fascist, elite son of a bitches. And a lot of the people setting the laws and precedents here today in America never said the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America or to the republic for which it stands. And they're not warm and fuzzy about you or your individual rights. They view the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as impediments to the implementation of a new world order and global economy. And you, the younger generation, are the ones that they're bringing the most pressure on. Don't let them argue into giving up your constitutional rights. Don't let them argue or coerce you into giving up your rights to privacy. Take my advice, take my motto, non-illegitimate carborundum, don't let the bastards grind you down. Thank you very much.
Gatewood Galbraith. You can check him out online at http://gatewood.com. Go on there, get his book, and read all the latest news. And if you're good, maybe he'll even email you if you talk to him a little bit. He's a good guy. I'm sure he would. We're going to bring Gatewood's buddy up here from the Hemp Museum down in Kentucky. You can see him on YouTube. Here's Craig Lee.
It's always good for this great drive up here in Cincinnati with the one and only Gatewood, a great friend of mine. I'm here today really because I'm here today because of several reasons. One, of medical marijuana and this government of ours talking about a food shortage. I'm a hemp activist and I also participate in a little bit of cannabis smoking along the side, but actually I'm a true hemp activist. And the reason why that I took it upon to be activism is because of the multitudes of people in my community who's been gone to prison for marijuana growing, marijuana production, for the sale and distribution of a crop that's been put here for a lot more reasons than medicine. And because of the medicine and the medical side, the pharmaceutical military industrial complex that Gatewood mentioned is holding this plant back from curing world hunger. If any of you are listening to BBC World News and know anything about world hunger, within the next 2 months, if people aren't fed rice and food that's going into biodiesel, in the next 2 months it's subject to be 100 million people die from the face of this earth due to hunger because we have this plant outlawed for food, fuel, and fiber. And because of the food shortage is because we're using corn and soybeans in the biodiesel industry while the pharmaceutical military industrial complex keeps this crop illegal. Within the next 6 months, if we grew somewhere in the neighborhood of 200,000 acres of hemp in this country, within 5 to 6 months, we could probably produce another 100,000 barrels of biodiesel, not counting the cellulose base that's left over. From the biodiesel plant of the hemp plant, you take the seed and you press it. You press the oil out of it and it becomes biodiesel. It becomes vegetable oil. That could go into our fuel chain. On the other side, once the oil's extracted, we have a food source called hemp seed meal that can be distributed around the world to stop this 100 million people food hunger. And because our government has it illegal, we have 100 million people that's going to die within the next 2 months if they don't get food, while we stand here arguing about a crop that could feed world hunger, and it's been documented in world history throughout time. And this is what we stand for in this country, is this what we stand for as a society, as so-called God-ridden, religious-bound group of people whose evangelical right, if this is right, then by damn where do we stand if this is wrong in their eyes? Are we subject to all go to prison like the lady sitting here in the wheelchair with handcuffs on her while we sit here and got starved to death? We have an organization. It's called 25by25.org. If you don't know anything, go to it, because this is an organization. It's in Baltimore, Maryland. It's in Maryland. It's looking to alternative fuels. Alternative fuels will bring this crop to the forefront through the decriminalization of marijuana, medical marijuana. This has to come, or the politicians are living in denial. There is not one politician who can stand up in this country, in this society, and say anything about alternative fuels. He's living in denial if he turns his back on industrial hemp as a biodiesel crop and as an ethanol fuel crop, as a food crop, as a fiber crop. He is a liar. He's living in denial. I'll tell you right now, I don't care who he is. Stephen Brashear, who was elected in Kentucky, wanted to make great changes, and he turns his back on this while he's talking about alternative fuels. George Bush talking about switchgrass. World Health Organization talking about food hunger. And we have a crop that we're sitting here talking about medicine, food, fuel, and fiber, that these people live in denial. People, we need to take our government back and give back what the Creator gave to us. The right to grow this crop, regardless of how you look at it. Stand up. We need to do more fighting. There is less protest now in America because of the Patriot Act. They could come in here today and actually, because we're activists, and tell us that we're enemy combatants because we're going against the government on this issue. Where do we stand as a citizenry? We need to group together. We need to stand together, and this crop here can pull a world of people together. This is a small group, but behind the scenes, where we stand at, there is an entity that's wanting this crop legal, but at the same time, they're going to have their rules, their regulations, and their laws governing. We've got to stop it. Thank you very much.
From the Kentucky Hemp Museum, Craig Lee. Man, he got me all worked up. How about you guys? I mean, he had a real good point. We're not here just to promote people becoming complete stoneheads that just smoke weed because it makes SpongeBob that much better. We're out here because there's a lot more things that weed is useful for. Marijuana, I mean, food, fuel, fiber, all that stuff. And it's time that people start to recognize that. We're not just a bunch of dumb potheads just listening to Pink Floyd and making strange visions out of the strobe light.
Sometimes, though.
Well, yeah, it can be fun. But, I mean, even if we are, what's the difference? Should we do that, or should we go out and get drunk and beat the hell out of each other and maybe even get in a car crash and kill somebody?
Exactly. All right, be sure, everybody, you go in the back and get your Hemp Rock t-shirts for the event, like this one for the march here that I'm, the fancy schmancy shirt I'm sporting right now. But we also have some shirts we're going to be doing for giveaways. And I don't know, what's the criteria?
What should we give away for? Anybody with a shirt that has to do with marijuana, right up here. Come on down. We're going to vote for the best shirt, the best marijuana shirt. And of course, this is a biased voting, but we don't need you guys, so it's strictly off the shirt. Hey, this is going to be hard because I see one of my shirts right there.
Y'all have to be aware that, you know, a lot of the Reefer Roach artwork was done by our very own Senior Bull. So if you've seen the Reefer Roaches around, it's usually one of his high conceptions.
Okay, we're going to go by the applause-o-meter. Starting off with the little blonde girl on the very end. Well, if anything, she's a good model. All right, the tall gentleman next to her, what do you think of his shirt? Yeah, okay, maybe not. Maybe yes. That is the 2008 Million Marijuana March t-shirt. You can purchase those back at the Hemp Rock table over there with the Happy Hemptress. Okay, right here, Mr. Buzzcut with the green on. What do you think of his shirt there? Ooh, he got a big move there. All right, the gentleman standing next to him in white. All right, I think we got Elwood Blues down here in front of me. What do you think of his shirt there, guys? Man with the fancy hat.
Got a juicy bun.
Hey. Oh, yeah, that's not... Let me see that. Hey, that's all right. I like that. Woo! Okay. Next one right over here to Shaggy. Oh, it's getting tough. All right, what about Thugmaster G right here? All right, it's getting tough. It's getting tough. And of course, last but not least, the pleasant little lady down on the end in the blue. What do you think?
I don't know. Between like three over here.
Right here, I think we got... I really like this one, so I'm going to go with that one there. Look at that. That's just cool. Right there. You got to go there with the buds, too. What do they get, Don Pardo?
They will receive a fancy Hemp Rock Pottsberry Dope Boy shirt.
Wake and bake with the Dope Boy. And then what are you going to give the Jake Blues over here? Or Elwood, I'm sorry.
We're going to give Elwood Blues the opportunity to speak his mind about fighting Cincinnati's ridiculous marijuana ordinance.
Oh, is that the jail one?
Yes, the
Hey,
jail
that's
shirt.
perfect for Elwood Blues. He was in jail for a
Jail
while.
shirt.
Up in Juliet.
All right.
What else you got, Elwood?
Our final contestant will be receiving a shirt today from the actual, if I can find the beginning of it, the actual event today itself, the 2008 Reefer Roaches March on Cincinnati.
Cool. I feel bad now. I didn't see that. Those are cool shirts there.
All right, where was this one going?
We're going to give it to the man in white.
All right, we have our final shirt. This shirt is a female shirt only, we were told.
Right there, she gets it addicted.
All right.
She's addicted. She
We were
deserves it.
told the man spoke and I'm acting.
She's a SpongeBob fan.
Be sure to get back there and get your own shirt right now. And you know what? I have to mention something while I'm thinking about this. For those of you that were at last night's event, I just can't help but think about this because being the natural pervert that I am, I've seen a lot of really good-looking women here. And last night when we had the Hamilton County Sheriffs come down to the Hemp Fest event, we were commenting about how kind of hot the female deputy looked in that uniform.
Did you ask her about her handcuffs?
Well, no, we didn't want to get that close. We were just talking about how hot she looked in that sheriff's uniform, and I have to speak to the lovely lady we have out here. the Cincinnati cop uniforms just are not becoming at all. Oh, you guys could look way hotter while fighting crime. Way hotter.
What do you want? Mini skirts?
Oh, hey, if somebody's gonna end up putting a pair of handcuffs on me, I want them to look pretty sexy.
It's kind of hard to throw a guy down on the street and put your knee in his back when you got a leather brassiere on. I think you look fine, man.
Back to the show. You just sent me in a direction I didn't need to go.
You'll have to forgive Doc.
All right, so anyway, we've got a lot more speakers coming up. Again, Easy's going to be playing here very shortly. And as a matter of fact, Senior Bull, let's stop talking and get our next speaker up here.
Yeah, we have a lady over here.
She is from, let's see, it is the Women's Organization for National Prohibition Reform. Got it. Man, it's taken me like 10 years, but I finally know. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Ms. Sharon McCullough.
Good afternoon. I see a lot of familiar faces here and some new ones as well. So it's a good time to come to Cincinnati, and I have to at this time applaud your courage for coming. This is being done in 200 cities this weekend around the world, over 200, and it's nice to be part of that. Come together with other cannabis people, even in spirit and in body. It's great to do this. It's a beautiful day. But I have to tell you that last year in America, some 830,000 people were arrested for marijuana. And most of these people were just like us. The organization I'm with, we kind of go on the assumption of what the drug war does to families and to children specifically when our citizenry is locked away for doing marijuana or other drugs. Specifically, we don't just work with marijuana because I personally feel that the marijuana issue, while important, is kind of the tip of the iceberg when you're talking about overall drug war and prohibition. And I think that's something that we need to put our differences aside on, our opinions aside on, and realize whether it's crack cocaine or heroin people are addicted to or whatever it might be, or smoking weed or drinking liquor, which is also a drug. You know, we need to be understanding of each other and understand that we're all being persecuted in much the same way. Don't matter what the substance is, we're all being persecuted for what we do. The pharmaceutical drugs that people use without prescriptions have become very problematic as of late. It's been in the news a lot. They're making commercials about it, about how the kids are getting their drugs from the medicine chest now and not from the dealers on the street. I think primarily it's ironic when they're going to tell you don't do drugs and you can't turn the TV on at any given moment day or night without seeing pharmaceutical propaganda being spewed on us wanting us to do their drugs. And I think that's got a lot to do with it. I think they don't want us to have this medicine because it makes us not need their pills. We don't need their Zoloft and their Prozacs and whatnot. We don't need their pain medications as much. We cost them money by using cannabis. And I believe the whole prohibition on this plant was based on greed and power and money. And I think it's been continued for those same reasons. It keeps the prisons full, I mean, they like that. But I'm a taxpayer, you know what I'd really like? If the prisons are going to be full, I'd like to see them full of real criminals like rapists and murderers and, you know, child molesters, things like that. Not for people choosing to do what they choose to do. Because, you know, truly you can write all of the laws you want. It's not going to matter. People don't smoke pot because it's against the law. You know, I mean, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's against the law. It's not stopping anybody from doing it, period, obviously. This is an unwinnable war. The drug war is a war that they can't win. And they know they can't win. And really, they don't want to because they win every day. You know, they're laughing all the way to pain.
Hey, babe.
And
Get closer to the mic, honey.
it's taking its toll on our communities and our families. In Chicago alone, there's an equivalent of one teenager being killed every 8 days for the last year and a half. And these are people getting caught up in gang violence, drive-bys, you know, innocent people, a lot of them. And if you remove that black market and all drugs were legal, these people wouldn't be out on the street selling them because there was no market. People could get out and get the drug of their choice. there'd be a safe supply. I think that's a more reasonable, logical explanation. And what they're doing is just locking people up, and they're not addressing the addictions at all. They're not preparing them for life on the outside in any kind of way when they come out. Actually, they're quite counting on the fact that they'll, fail their urine test or whatever and come back real soon. That's what they like. And if they get them early enough in life, they really can just about keep them in there their whole life. They just about can. It's predictable. I'd like to see people work on the marijuana issue. I would also like to see, you look at a bigger picture and realize that the drug war is very devastating from all fronts, not just from the marijuana front. It's devastating from all fronts. And the children really do suffer. They're the most innocent victims in the war on drugs. Their moms and dads go away. Their lifestyles are changed. They have to change schools. They leave their friends. They have to go to foster homes, a lot of them. The lucky ones go to family members. And many of those people then have to go on food stamps and get foster care money. So basically, we're locking up our tax base on one end, and on the other hand, we're using all these tax monies out to take care of their families and stuff while they are in prison. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, and it's costing a lot of money. It's costing the taxpayers a lot of money to do this, and we really need to stop that. And this federal bill that was introduced recently by Barney Frank and Ron Paul would do a lot in changing things if we could get them to look at it, but it's just going to be a step. And thank God we still got term limits in place, and George Bush will be out of the president's office very soon, because he has really accelerated the war on marijuana, specifically within his reign of terror. But I think it's because they're in death throes. They know that the marijuana war is really over. It's over. Public opinion has changed. Nobody's buying the reefer madness propaganda anymore, and they haven't been for a long time. People are a lot more sophisticated now. We don't believe in lies so easily, especially the ones of us that are enlightened, right? Because cannabis does that for us. It opens our mind, and it does make us more enlightened and kinder and more compassionate people. I love stoners myself. I'm just going to tell you. So most of my best friends are stoners, I love it. I'm a stoner. What the hell, And, don't be ashamed of who you are. Don't. Because you're not doing anything to be ashamed of. You are not. And I think it's great to see this many people that will come out and stand up and not apologize for loving this plant. So I applaud you for that. I really do. Hope to see you next year.
PR.org. That's the Women's Organization for National Prohibition Reform. Boy, that is a tongue twister. Just to remind you, coming up at about 5 o'clock, maybe a little bit after, but if you have time, follow the Reefer Roach on over to the Federal Building for our big drum march. We're going to let the people of Cincinnati, the ones that couldn't make it over here or just didn't want to, well, we're coming to them. And we're going to speak our mind and yell out good chants about free the weed and beating on the drums and all that good stuff. So if you can, around 5 o'clock, make sure you follow that old Reefer Roach, because, hell, who doesn't like a good roach? All right, the next lady that I'm going to have come up here, she's all the way up from West Virginia. For the American Alliance for Medical Cannabis, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Miss Cindy Wimmer.
Thank you for coming out. It's a beautiful day. We have a lot of people here that's got a lot of information. I'm Cindy Weimer. I'm West Virginia State Director for American Alliance for Medical Cannabis. I fight for the sick that needs their medication that the government decides that they don't need. I've got a friend that I help sometimes as much as I can. He lives in Ohio. He has served as a ranger in the Army. He was poisoned by some kind of shot that they gave him when they sent him to Iraq. So, with the Bush War. So he comes back and he's sick. His hair starts falling out. He can't walk. He has spasms. The only thing that the VA wanted to do is pump him with Oxycontin and all these other drugs. And they turned him into like a Jekyll and Hyde. He'd love you one minute, and the next minute he'd hate you. He started with the medical cannabis. That is the only thing that helps this man. So now, the VA drug tested him and told him that he couldn't have anything now because he tested positive for medical cannabis. He told them to take their pills and shove it. He didn't need their pills. He would use his own medication. But the trouble is now he's using his medication, but he's afraid. He's afraid he's going to end up in jail or have his grandchildren taken away from him, his property taken away from him. And here he is, the government is the one that poisoned him. And they're trying to tell him what choice of medicine to use. Tanya Davis, she'll be up here talking pretty soon. Please, everyone here from Ohio, stand up for the patient. They need your protection. They need protected because he's afraid to come here and speak. And he's not the only one. There are thousands more. And there are thousands more that are too sick to be here. So that is why we're here. We are their voice. We have to be their voice. So please, please, call your representatives, your senators. I have a senator in West Virginia. I have been writing for 7 years, and he wouldn't contact me at all. I've got his attention now. I've got an appointment with him real soon. So that is the greatest thing. Just don't give up. You can't give up. These patients don't have time for you to give up. So please, do everything you can. Get on the phone, write letters, make appointments. All of it. Emails. They don't pay very much attention to the emails. That's why I say, it's better to actually look them in the face and say, you're working for me. I put you in this office and you will listen to me now. So please, just think about all these people that are depending on you. And Tanya Davis is right here. She'll explain the bill that's going on right here in Ohio to protect these patients. And she has worked her hind end off for these Ohio patients, guys. I mean, she needs a hand all by herself. So, thank you for coming out. I want to thank Lynn. I want to thank all the staff because they have been great. Thank you.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Cindy Wimmer, please get your hands together. All right, now we're going to have a short moment of poetry flavoring, and then we are going to have another speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, make welcome who has become a staple at the Hemp Rock events. Ladies and gentlemen, is the poetic stylings of the Cincy Bud Kid.
You better talk in the mic.
Mic check, mic check. Thank you for that introduction. I am the Cincinnati Bud Kid, just a simple, unestablished poet. Never been published, don't have a MySpace. And this is a simple poem about a broken pipe. I'm a pack rat, I don't like to throw things away, so when the pipe got broke, I said, well, throw the bowl away, and kept the glass in, figuring someday I'll have a doobie big enough to blow a nice shotgun. Well, that took a while. This is about that while. Smoking zags, took my time. Last one roll, finished out that dime. Managed to re-up within 1/8. Friends with roaches to share, helped them on my 5-day wait. Another weekend fogs by as I roll up my second to last. Made that bitch so fat, filled a hole in a broken pipe from my past. Probably been sitting about a year, barely owned for more than 2. But that year I missed her sadly, and for those 2 I loved her madly. Blew a shotgun to my wife, I did. Same woman who helped break it. Ain't that some shit? So as the baby cries, I got one left. Here's hoping you all got one you ain't smoked yet. I'm the Cincinnati Bud Kid. Thanks for coming down, y'all. Got some balls.
Yeah, that is some creative genius there. All right, we're going to move over here. That one's a little bit of feedback, and I just got rid of the ringing in my ears from last night, so I don't welcome it back. This next gentleman, he's a student. I do believe you're still a student, aren't you? And he is a student that wants to start a sensible drug policy. So from the students of sensible drug policy, here is Todd Roy.
I hope everybody's having a great time tonight. We got a beautiful day. We couldn't have asked for better weather, a better crowd. My name's Todd Roy. Like I said, I'm a student at Cincinnati State. I also work full-time, and I'm like a lot of other people out there. I was one of your people one time. I was standing out there in that crowd. I came here to one of these events, the Global Marijuana March, about 4 years ago, and I heard a lot of great speakers. And one of the great speakers was Gatewood Galbraith, who has been a great inspiration to me. His book, I read his autobiography, and it taught me a lot about myself, just reading it and thinking about some of the comparisons. But I want everybody to know that we have a lot of problems in our country, and I know everybody out there is tired of being harassed for a substance you choose to use, whether it's recreational, whether it's medical, whatever it may be, whatever your reason may be for doing it. It doesn't matter what your reason for doing it is, because the simple fact is we all have the right to do whatever we want if we're in the privacy of our own home and if we're not affecting other people, because we're human beings and we've been born and gifted with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm not going to let any government, any police officer take away my right to pursuit of happiness. And if that happens to be smoking a joint, or if that happens to be drinking a beer, or if that happens to be smoking a cigarette, whatever is your pursuit of happiness, you have to go after it and get it. You can't just let people take it away from you, because knowledge is power, but ignorance is even more powerful. And if you keep ignorant to your rights and what your God-given rights and your constitutional rights are, then they're going to take them away from you. So you got to go out and you got to educate yourself, because that's the one thing that will solve all the problems in our country is education. If everybody is educated about what their rights are and what their freedoms are, then they can't take those away from you, because you'll be pissed off once you realize they're taking them away. Because I know I get pissed off when I realize they're taking away my freedoms and my rights on a daily basis. When I have to sit there and sit in the comfortable of my comfortable home, and I still have to worry about a cop coming into my house and because I'm smoking a joint or I'm doing something that doesn't have any effect on him or anybody outside of my house, then that's a right that I should have and everybody should have. And I hope everybody is willing to stand up for your right. Go out, get yourself educated, because every single person here from all these different organizations, they all want you to go out and check out their organization and go out and do that and educate yourself, because there's nothing bad that can come from education. You can only empower yourself, because they will take advantage of the ignorant people. That's what they're doing. That's why they keep people ignorant, because it's easy to take advantage of people when they don't know what their rights are. So go out, educate yourself, and remember that ignorance is more powerful than any drug. It's an addiction, because if you don't know what's going on, then you can't be unhappy about what's going on. The real reason that marijuana is illegal, because they know that people who do it will stand up for themselves and will think for themselves and be open-minded and willing to accept other people. Everybody, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy the bands that are going to be coming up. Enjoy the rest of the speakers.
Ladies and gentlemen, Todd Roy for Students for a Sensible Drug Policy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we need to remind you again that coming up at 6 p.m. we are going to be marching towards the Federal Building at 550 Main, right around the corner here. We're going to be marching past Government Square, but again, remember, you cannot be in the street. You must stay on the sidewalk. We're going to be marching with the Reefer Roach. He's over there. He might even sign an autograph for you if you want. I don't know if you want it, but we're going to have the drummers in. We're going to be marching on over there, so be sure to stick around, and we do that. Be sure to be safe. Also, don't forget our sponsors for today's event, Hemp Rock. They are back there selling the t-shirts right now, as well as Hustler Hollywood of Cincinnati right here, right around the corner here. You can find all the needs that you don't have here in the square met right there, I'm sure. Also, Cures Not Wars, one of the main sponsors of the Global Marijuana March. Because again, this isn't just happening in Cincinnati, this is happening simultaneously in hundreds of cities around the world. Millions of people are together right now with you. So do you feel symbiotic with them? No, probably not, because we're in a town where you can't smoke a joint on the square. See, if we were all high, we'd be connected. Well, you are, I'm not. Temptations helps makes this all possible. Temptations in O'Brienville, great place. Find all of your smoking needs. Also, Randy's Wired Papers, the guy that made it possible for you not to need a roach clip while you're on the road. Thanks to Randy's at randys.com. Right now, I'd like to introduce to you a man who can probably tell you something that may just save your hiney one day. This man is actually an attorney. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Tim Smith.
I'd like to tell you a little story. About 10 years ago, it was a crime to carry a concealed firearm. And you have the right to have an affirmative defense and show that you have a right to carry the gun, because if you could show that you were a prudent person, that a prudent person would carry a firearm at the time. The problem with this is that you couldn't find out in advance whether you're allowed to carry a gun. So the only way to find out was that you had to be arrested, strip searched, and tried as a felon in order to find out whether your interpretation of the statute was correct. So what would happen is every time somebody was arrested for a felony, concealed carry, they had a good reason. In other words, they were really innocent. The prosecutor would offer them a deal for a misdemeanor, a small fine, and invariably people would take the deal. Until a man named Pat Feely was charged, and he refused to take the deal. And he insisted on going to trial, and he was acquitted by Judge Crush here in Hamlin County, which then caused us to file a lawsuit asking that the concealed carry statute be declared unconstitutional. We won that lawsuit in the trial court in front of Judge Wilbur. We won that lawsuit in the Court of Appeals here in Hamlin County, but only when it got to the Ohio Supreme Court did we lose. And they said that you didn't have a right to carry a concealed firearm because you had a right to carry a firearm that was unconcealed. Now, I learned during this case that the way to find out whether you're on the right side of a policy decision is to find out which side is lying and which side is telling the truth. And at that time, while they said you had a right to carry an exposed firearm, every time you did, you were arrested. So when the Supreme Court said that, at that point we had lost the issue. At that point, the late Vernon Ferrier held a gun walk up in Northside where 100 people showed up and walked around with their guns. And then that caused a gun walk in Columbus and Toledo and Cleveland. And before you knew it, even though we lost in Supreme Court, the state legislature passed a new law of giving you the right to get a permit to carry a concealed firearm so you could find out in advance whether you had the right to carry a firearm. So my point is that the way the law was changed was by people being a little on the edge. As George Bernard Shaw said, the reasonable man sees the world as it is, and he adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable man sees the world as it should be, and tries to adapt the world to his vision. All progress is made by unreasonable men. Right now, in the state of Ohio, or in the city of Cincinnati, rather, you carries 30 days in jail if you're arrested for possession of marijuana. The only way this law is going to be changed is that every time someone gets charged with that crime, with this ordinance in the city of Cincinnati, you have to fight it all the way. You have to have a motion to suppress, a motion to dismiss, and go to a jury trial. Whatever it takes to beat the charge, you have to be unreasonable and take a chance. Someone's got to step forward if we're going to change this law.
Timothy Smith, ladies and gentlemen, Cincinnati attorney. If you ever need some help in court, look him up. Just another reminder that around 6 o'clock we are going to be marching over to the Federal Building. So don't you go nowhere. You stick around and march with us and let the city know what we think about these hyenas pot laws. Want to thank Hustler Hollywood. We also want to thank WLW and Scott Sloan. Want to thank WEBN, The Fox, 96 Rock. We also want to thank Riverfront West Sports Park Pavilion for letting us do a really good party there last night. It was quite an adventure from what I understand. With this next gentleman coming up, he's run for city council a number of times. There's quite a few laws, like the one that was just passed where for that little bit of weed they can throw you in jail and give you about $1,000 fine.
30 days in jail.
30 days in jail, $1,000 fine. I'm from Butler County, so I don't have to worry about it. Well, I do today, but all right. So no more of me. Let's move on over here for Mr. Michael Earl Patton. Put it all together for him.
Thank you. My name is Michael Earl Patton. I'm an engineer. I live in Oakley, but I have a couple rental properties in Walnut Hills, and I see a part of the city there that's not what I see in Oakley at all. When buying beer and wine was outlawed during Prohibition, people switched to gin, whiskey, and rum to get their alcohol. These were illegal too, but they were easier to transport and conceal. The alcohol economy went underground, cash became king, criminal gangs moved in, and crime went up. We are now in Prohibition 2. The possession of even the smallest amounts of marijuana is a crime in Cincinnati. I don't know why. Some people say that it is bad for you. Well, I have something to confess. I weigh about 260 pounds, and I like Big Macs. They are certainly not good for me, and with food riots breaking out over the world, one could make the argument that they are not good for society. So why don't we ban Big Macs? I heard Councilman Cecil Thomas on WLW state that if we were to make marijuana legal, then people would grow it in their own bedrooms. So, or is this really what it's all about? Fattening foods are very profitable for giant corporations such as McDonald's, Kroger's, and Arthur Daniels Midland. But marijuana can be grown at home by anyone. For the past several years, I've been observing the drug trafficking around my rental properties. The buyers are almost white who come from the outer neighborhoods, suburbs, and Kentucky and Indiana. To blame the high crime rate in the inner city neighborhoods only on the people who live there is unjust, because it is clear that thousands of outsiders come down to their neighborhoods to do their illegal buying. But the police arrest records do not reflect that fact. I checked out the data for marijuana possession arrests under the city ordinance. For the first 3 months of the year, there were over 900 arrests. And by over 6 to 1, more African Americans were arrested than whites. Most of the arrests were in inner city neighborhoods, but even in white neighborhoods and mixed neighborhoods, the arrests were overwhelmingly of blacks. In Oakley, there were 4 blacks arrested and 1 white. In Hyde Park, 1 black and no whites. In Clifton, 16 blacks and 6 whites. In Mount Airy, 25 blacks and 1 white. City Council says this is about guns. This is not about guns. The number of guns seized during marijuana arrests is actually a little bit less than arrests that do not involve marijuana. Now, you may not know this, but the police have been contacting the landlords and asking them not to rent with people with prior drug convictions. Nothing is said about renting to people with prior gun convictions, only drugs, including possession of marijuana. And with blacks being arrested and convicted of drug offenses far more than whites, you know, this kind of looks like racial profiling. Not only that, but the police are recommending stiffer penalties for those without money than those with money. If you own your own home, then it doesn't matter if the police say the landlord shouldn't rent to you. Or if you can afford a good lawyer like Kim Smith, who demands a jury trial, maybe the city will drop the criminal charges, and you can plead guilty to a minor misdemeanor, which will not show up on your record. It is time to recognize that we need to change our policy here, and you know that. I'm going to suggest something in addition. In Cincinnati, because of how we elect our council, less than 40% of the voters can elect all 9 members of council. And in the 1920s, we need to go back to that system. When following voter disgust with an ineffective and corrupt government, we went to proportional representation. That made certain that the 60% of the voters whose candidates do not now win can have representation on council. Anyways, thank you very much. Let's just change things.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, get those hands together again for Michael Earl Patton. Very concerned citizen. See, if you live in Cincinnati, you got to vote for this man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, be sure that you check out the Hemp Rock website at hemprock.com to find out about all the things that are going on over the coming years and about what you can do to make your voice and your presence known in what is allegedly called the drug war. I always think it's interesting in this country that we declared war on 2 things, drugs and terrorism, ideological concepts rather than actual, what makes that a war? I thought a war meant you actually got troops together and you fought an enemy. I guess it's another version of a civil war. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, right now I'd like to bring an important person that is actually bringing change about in the state you live right now if you're from Ohio. From the Ohio Patient Network, as well as representing North Ohio Normal and the MMJ Action Network. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to make welcome to the stage right now Miss Tanya Davis.
Can you all hear me okay? Okay, I just don't want no static going on. My name is Tanya Davis. I am a medical marijuana patient. And it's not something to be proud of, but that's okay. If it'll create change, that's all that matters. There is a fun side to marijuana, of course, and then there's the serious side. I go all over the state of Ohio, and I meet with patients from all over the state. Last week, I just met with a hospice patient. This hospice patient had been smoking marijuana the whole time he was in hospice. And the hospice doctor resigned, so they had to farm him out to a pain center. Because they farmed him out to this pain center, they drug tested him. They found that he used marijuana as a medicine. Now, since he failed this drug test, now he has to die with no dignity. If Ohio had its way, the man would not get 1 ounce of medications because he uses marijuana. And I think that's awful, and I think that's criminal. If you're dying and sick like I'm a domestic violence survivor. I have domestic violence-induced scoliosis. You have to be beat pretty bad to get that. I also have a crippling terminal disease that has a lot of symptoms like MS. And because of these multiple conditions, I decided I had to find something safe for myself to use as a medicine because they want me to take 78 pills a day to survive. When I can use medical marijuana, I can eliminate 30. Now they tell me that I'm going to die. That's fine. I've accepted that. But I'll tell you right now, the good Lord gave me a mouth. And I started going down to the Ohio State House every week for over a year. I would go rain, shine, snow, ice, it didn't matter, hot, cold. I was there every week. Because I went to the State House every week, I convinced Senator Tom Roberts to introduce a bill, and he will do this the 3rd week of this month. I invite anyone that would like to participate in this press conference of the introduction of this bill. We've worked very, very hard, and we're very, very sick people, and I think that we deserve to die with some dignity. I have a daughter that's a recovering drug addict, and she got off of the drugs and going through the withdrawal. I cannot believe what it took to get that child off of the drugs. And for our government to want me to become addicted to narcotics makes no sense to me. Especially when I can sit here and talk to you because I smoked a joint. What the heck, you know? Rodney Peters should not have to be rejected his pain medications because he uses marijuana. Randy Brush, he got sentenced 3 years for growing 4 marijuana plants because he used marijuana as a medicine. They let a man die because he could not get a liver transplant because he tested positive for marijuana. What the hell? But I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to take each and every one of you to stop this madness because our senators and our representatives, they work for us. Law enforcement have told me themselves personally, the State Highway Patrol, because I deal with the State House, I talk a lot with them. They don't have a problem with smoking. What they've got a problem with is drinking and driving, drinking and smoking, drinking and anything. Yet that's legal. Alcohol's deadly, yet it's legal. I have an old flyer. The front has basically the bill in question that's going to be introduced the third week of May is called the Ohio Medical Compassion Act. This bill would remove the sick out of this drug war. And because a sick person, and see, we could use you able-bodied folks, but because the sick person whose days are numbered went down there, which, by the way, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves because you guys could be right beside me, and I don't mean that mean at all. Please don't think that. Grab a hold of me. I've got a flyer that has the list of the information for the senators. I need you to call these senators. Thank you. Cool. I need you to commit to contacting these senators and tell them that when the Ohio Medical Compassion Act goes before them, to grow some balls and to stand up for the sick and dying at the very least. Don't you agree that at least they need to give it to us? You know, if my husband could have smoked a joint, he probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't be sitting here. But because they gave him pills and alcohol, which are both legal, I'm sitting in this chair. But it's by the grace of God that he gave us the medical marijuana that I'm able to sit here and talk to you. I have also a magazine that you guys can get. It's called Treating Yourself. If you wanna talk to me about getting an issue, we can do that. I also have a MySpace /MMJ Action Network or YouTube.com /Tanya420. And go and check out the video clip of Rodney Peters, Dying with Dignity. All this man wants to do is die with some dignity. And the courage in him just really blew me away. But I do need you guys to commit to making a phone call or sending an email or a text message even. Get a hold of me, get my email address, and God bless you.
Tanya Davis, ladies and gentlemen, give it up to her. She's up there on the front lines fighting for your rights every day, every week, every month. Oh, another speaker. Surprise speaker, huh?
Yes, we have a surprise speaker. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we're here, in just a moment, we're going to be having the Easy Band get ready to jam for you here, but we just flying in, right in from the airport. He just popped in right now. Many of you know he was up there in support of one of my favorite candidates, Ralph Nader. And ladies and gentlemen, right now, Cincinnati favorite son right now, Justin Jeffrey right now.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming out today. It's obviously a great cause and a beautiful day here in Cincinnati. Here in the People's Square. I know they like to try and say the 3CDC owns it, but it's still the People's Square, and we have to come out and remind people of that. Just glad to be here. I've been just came from Illinois in Cook County, and recently there was a guy who was a former prosecutor there. He came to speak, and some of you might have heard him on the radio. He spoke to the Rotary Club, and he was a prosecutor for over 20 years. Been involved in, he was a former soldier in the war on drugs, and now he's a conscientious objector. And you guys, I don't really need to tell you, preaching to the choir, but it's an important cause. It's important that we stand up for justice. The war on drugs is a war on the poor. Part of this prison industrial complex that we need to stand up against. We need to speak out. We were proud to be a part of defeating the big jail tax. Cincinnati has the oppressive drug laws now. It's important for us to stay strong, to get organized, and to fight these things because the people have the power, but only when the people know they have the power. So make sure you link up and you give your information to the happy hemptress back there so we can keep you on the list and stand up for our rights and stand up for justice. And have a great day. Thanks.
Justin Jeffries, ladies and gentlemen. That winds up our speakers for today. We want to thank them all for coming out. Tanya, Cindy, Gatewood, Danny Plyler, the whole bunch. And if you would like to know more information about any one of the speakers, then make sure to go to hemprock.com and get all the information there. You can get email addresses and all that good stuff. We want to thank you guys for coming out today. Without you, none of this would be possible. We want to thank the lady in blue over here for making sure nothing went wrong. Not so much out of us, because as you can see, we're a peaceful bunch, but out of just any kind of stragglers that might come on and want to give us a hard time and hassle us a little bit. You know, there's always one in the bunch. We want to thank Hollywood Hustler. We want to thank WLW. We want to thank Habitations in O'Brienville. Go on out and check them out for some good hemp clothing and necklaces and anything else you can think of in hemp. Let's see. We also want to thank curesnotwars.org. Go check them out on the web. They're a big supporter of the Million Marijuana March, as Doc said earlier, going on throughout the whole world, not just here in Cincinnati. It's a worldwide kind of thing.
Hustler Cincinnati.
What's that?
Hustler Cincinnati.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I'm going to let the band play a little bit for you. The band Easy is here, and they're going to jam a little bit for you. I do want to remind you that there will be a march after all this good music, and we're going to be drumming it and screaming it on over to the Federal Building from here. I want to remind you all to stay on the sidewalks. There is no parade permit, so if you step off the sidewalk while marching over to the Federal Building, we can't say what will happen to you. She's liable to pick you up and beat you up. Don't boo her. I'm sure she's a good lady. We need them, other words. We'd be in some serious trouble. It'd be a dog-eat-dog world, even worse. We want to thank Randy's Wired Papers. Want to thank all the bands who played. Of course, Veg opening up the whole festivities there. Give a round of applause for Veg. You can check them out on MySpace. We want to thank the Frankel Project for playing our party last night. We want to thank Open Mind Productions for playing last night. And of course, we want to thank these guys who are about to jam for you right now. The one, the only, Easy.
Everybody's got something that they want to get off their chest, but there ain't no thing in the world that's gonna make them protest. Everybody's got something they want to get off their chest, but there's something that's gonna make them get up and protest. Tired of working in a dead-end job, or looking for something smaller than a bank to rob in. Pick up your books and get on the net. You want to learn more once your appetite is wet. September 11th is the start of a new era, but don't treat the past as if you don't care.
thank you, folks. We are one half of Easy. My brother Jake Tracy. I'm Sleepy Andy Tracy. You can check us out online at myspace.com/easyband. That's easy, E-A-Z-Y. We've also got a couple recordings on archive.org. This is about another problem that our country faces. This one's called Discovery.
It's such a stupid problem, and I know I shouldn't fret. Gotta work forever just to pay off my credit card debt. Gotta write a hit song, and I guess I haven't yet. Gotta make $1 million just to pay off my credit card debt. See, as soon as you're 18, they call you on the phone. Now they call me every day, they won't leave me alone. Extended line of credit or a cash advance, you'll see. 300 here, 500 there, that money isn't free. Sometimes I sit and wonder how much stranger it could get. Gotta sell your life away just to pay off your credit card debt. Gotta work and work and work through 60 years of sweat. Probably be dead in the ground before I pay off my credit card debt. They call me every day for a week. You know what really sucks? It's 'cause my payment's overdue. A lousy $4. Give 'em $60 a month. I tell you, it's no lie. They charge me $80 a month. Why should I even try? Why should I try? Life on money problems, and they still don't teach you yet. The free t-shirt on the way to class is a lifetime of credit card debt. They sit at your university, how much you wanna bet. They're all just praying on the week just to build up your credit card debt.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if all the drumming people showed up yet or not. Like, you know, the little drumming dude. What was his name? Gary Coleman. I don't know, I miss people playing the drums. if you feel like drumming along or clapping along or doing whatever along, feel free. We're happy to have that. We'll also be playing down at Stanley's Pub with Perfect Norm this coming Friday night. Something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware.
Hey, one of them's lit up right now.